how do those recruitment partnerships that we've touched on throughout our conversation then in turn help mitigate the risks of these physician shortages that everybody is facing right now? Lance, I'd love to start off with you.
Yeah, thank you. So, long-term partnerships, when we can be proactive, and I'll tell you, I lead large-scale recruitment projects of 10, 25, 50 physicians, and it is incredibly challenging for employers, health systems, physician groups to have a 3 or 5 year strategic plan where they forecast their needs, even with imminent retirements from specialty practices and the uncertainty around exactly when that'll occur. But the fact is, if we're proactive about that, we could forecast our needs long term. We'll make much better hires over time. We'll mitigate risk. We will improve retention. And as far as the the back end side of that, I'd love to hear what Phil has to say on what he sees kind of as a client employer.
Absolutely. Yeah, Phil, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, no, those long-term partnerships are critical because you're connecting yourself as an organization to a national database of people who are either passively or actively searching for jobs in your specific specialty or area. And sort of, to highlight what Lance said, it is critical for the retention component. Burnout is real. We've saw, continued shortage. COVID forced, I think, people out of the workplace that were nearing retirement age that may have stayed longer otherwise. And so it's really critical that we make the investment to maintain our existing staff and then build on them because it's easy to say locums are expensive and maybe the cost might not justify it initially on paper, but the cost of turnover is high, and turnover related to burnout is somewhat preventable if you're willing to make that investment and improve the quality of life for your providers. And that allows you to continue, building and finding the right people who are going to be those long-term fits for your organization.
Yeah. If there's one thing I've learned in my time in healthcare so far is that retention is a very important word for everybody and for every organization, really. Garth, would love to get your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I think, ultimately what kind of rings in my head and circling back to, a comment Phil made earlier, and that is, anticipating and understanding his needs as a practice administrator. We know as a practice administrator, Phil is exceptionally busy. And so if we miss the mark on sending him a candidate to review, we've just ostensibly wasted Phil's time. And Phil needs better in that regard. And so those long-standing relationships, but that a national agency can help support and facilitate, broadens the overall ability to be able to assess and understand what specifically a practice manager or practice leader is looking for so that we get it right off the bat. And so that it's time invested, value received immediately upon that regard. So really truly understanding that dynamic and having the experience to be able to facilitate and drive towards it is critical from a time management perspective.
Right. Can I add to that? I think, to Garth's point, the other benefit is, a national company like AMN is able to tell us what they're seeing regionally, what they're seeing nationally, and what they're seeing in terms of compensation. That helps us sort of validate our own benchmarks, right? We think that we have the sweet spot, whatever it is, but it's good to know maybe 90 miles down the road, somebody's doing something differently, and to have that ability or that insight to be able to peel back the layers of the onion and see and then go, okay, does that make sense for us or not? It is really invaluable.
Yeah, it's an added data point, right? It's sort of the swarm knowledge of that partnership gives you the ability to see those added data points that then add to the conversation, which is really really key to it.